Greetings and welcome to this session. We're going to look at the topic of weather, and this is Educational Communication and Technology. I am Fredo Nchweri. Now we're going to our topic is weather, and here we have the type of content, the contents that we're going to learn today. First, we have the definition of weather. Then we have weather and climate. The next one is importance of weather. And then we have the elements of weather. Then we have the weather station. The next one is the conditions for setting a weather station. The next one is weather forecasting. And finally, we have the importance of weather forecasting. And at the objectives of this lesson, or by the end of this lesson, the learner should be able to know, or maybe the learner should be able to define the term weather. The learner should be able to differentiate between weather and climate. Then the learner should be able to know the importance of weather. And then the learner should be able to state the elements of weather. Then the learner should be able to define the term weather station. Then the learner should be able to know, or maybe to state the conditions on where to site a weather station. The learner should be able to define the term weather forecasting. And then last objective is the learner should be able to state the importance of weather forecasting. Introduction. To define this term, weather refers to the state of the atmosphere of a given place at a particular time. It refers to the state of the atmosphere of a particular place and time. This one, I'm going to encourage you that you should not be challenged between weather and climate. They have different meanings. Weather is a period of between 24 hours, but when you study climate, you're going to get that climate is an atmospheric condition of a place over a given period of time, like 30 to 35 years. That means there's a significant difference in these two terms. Importance of weather. This weather is so important to our lives, and we should know each and every importance so that it can help us. So number one, it improves people's lives. This weather improves people's lives. Then number two, it determines the type of clothing that should be worn. It will determine the type of clothing that should be worn. For example, when it's hot, maybe the weather is hot, that means that a person will know which kind of clothes, the light clothes, as compared to when it's raining. Someone will carry maybe umbrella, heavy jackets, gumboots. So it will help us to know which kind of clothes. Then the knowledge of a given place of weather gives people idea of economical activity to be carried out. For example, those places that are maybe tending to experience heavy rainfall, or they are encouraged to start their cultivation. or maybe those places that are going to experience dry weather, maybe dry weather conditions, they are experienced to use the strategies, for example, using rivers to draw water. Then they can cultivate using irrigation schemes. Then studying weather of a place at a long time, it helps to establish climate. So when you study this weather, it will help, it will give you the knowledge to know, or maybe to predict, which type of climate a certain place is going to experience at a given period of time, maybe. Then elements of weather. Here we have the sunshine, then we have the temperature, then we have the precipitation, and finally we have wind. These are the elements of weather. So to explain them, sunshine, sunrise reaching the surface is important since it gives energy to plants and enables it to manufacture food. So the energy that plants receive from the sun, it helps the plants to manufacture their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Through this, you get that people rely on the food, or maybe the food that they cultivate. Without the sun, that means these plants are not going to form chlorophyll. Therefore, they will not yield whatever maybe the expectation of a farmer was. Then we have temperature. This is the hotness or maybe coldness of a place. How hot or cold a place is, warm weather facilitates survival of plants and animals, and cold weather facilitates survival of plants. So you see, plants both rely on weather that is hot and that one that is cold. But mostly animals are now relying on the warm weather as compared to plants. Then we have the precipitation. This precipitation refers to the fall of moisture from the atmosphere to the ground. For example, when the rain falls, we say that we have received a precipitation. And you know, for plants to grow, they need water. So this water is so essential, maybe so important to the plants and even animals. In consumption, animals need water, and maybe in running the machines we need water. Then we have wind. Wind, we find that it's a moving air. Everywhere you go, you cannot get a place that is so still that there's no moving air. Mostly those people that are maybe happen to have gone to the leeward sides of maybe a hill or maybe a mountain, they experience a lot of winds moving as compared to those places that are the windward sides. The weather station. The weather station refers to a place where the elements of weather are measured and recorded. So some of the elements that measure weather as follows. The main maybe common ones, we have the rain gauge, we have the wind vane, we have the windsock, and we have the anemometer. We have a video showing the weather station. We're going to look at this video so that we can know how maybe how it works, every weather element, or maybe every element of a weather station, how it works.
Hello, I am Abdul Aziz Abdullah from Faculty of Agriculture, University Putra Malaysia. I will explain the various meteorological equipment. This is the meteorological station located at UPM Product. Here we have some equipment to record the normal meteorological information needed by users of meteorological information. Each morning I come take a reading. We have some equipment to record the meteorological information manually, and we also have the equipment to record the meteorological information automatically. Now I will show you the different equipment and how do they work. This is a Stevenson screen used to protect the thermometers inside from the direct sunlight.
Yeah, this is the Stevenson screen. You can see it, and it is used to store the thermometers. You can see it is painted white. It has the rovers, and it's raised above the ground. Now let's continue looking at the video to understand more about it.
Hello, I am Abdul UPM Product. To record the meteorological information manually, and we also have the equipment to record the meteorological information automatically. Now I will show you the different equipment and how do they work. This is a Stevenson screen used to protect the thermometers inside from the direct sunlight. These are 4 thermometers inside: maximum thermometers, minimum thermometers, dry bulb thermometers, and wet bulb thermometers. The maximum thermometer is used to measure the highest air temperature. The minimum thermometer is used to measure the lowest air temperature. Dry bulb temperature is used to measure the current air temperature. Reading from the wet bulb and dry bulb temperature is used to measure the relative humidity. This is an anemometer used to measure the wind speed. When the wind blows, the cup will spin and the meter move. The daily difference in meter reading is the wind speed in one day. It is rain gauge used to measure the daily rainfall. This funnel 5 inches diameter. We collect the rainfall into the bottle, and rainfall inside transfer into the measuring cylinder. And this amount of the rainfall in a day. This is an evaporation fan used to measure the amount of water loss by evaporation. This apparatus is used to measure the water level. The daily difference in water level is amount of water loss in a day. This is the sunshine recorder used to measure the sunshine hours in a day. This glass ball will focus sunlight onto the cut, leaving the burn mark. This is the birthmark. The length of the birthmark is amount of the sunshine hours. This is a thermometer. We have 4 different depths into the soil. From here, 5 cm, 30 cm, 60 cm, and 120 cm. This is an automatic weather station used to record and store data every half an hour. This data logger operated on battery supported by solar power. This sensor used to measure the air pressure. This sensor used to measure the solar radiation. This to measure the wind speed and wind direction. This is used to record rainfall. And this equipment to measure the evaporation. Well, we have come to the end of this session on the collection and recording of weather information using
Now let's now look at these diagrams. Whatever I was explaining, you have the rain gauge here. This is the funnel, the diameter just smaller than the casing. This is the casing, and now this is the funnel. Then we have the ridge, and you see this rain gauge is dipped into ground, to the ground, and above the ground is 30 centimeters. This one is basically for to prevent splashing of water droplets into the funnel. Then this is a calibrated container. The container has marks. These marks these are the marks that will measure, or maybe will show the indication of the collection of the amount of water. We've learned that it is used to measure rainfall. We have the wind vane. This wind vane, the arrow points where the wind is coming from. This is the arrow, and now it is pointing where the wind is coming from. Then this is the tail, and it's pointing where maybe the wind is going to, or maybe moving to. Then for example, in this case, the wind is coming from the southern part to moving to the northern part. If this was, maybe this arrow was pointing towards this direction of west, that means the wind is now moving from west to east. But just because we can see there's a clear indication that it's actually moving from this end to this direction. Then this is the windsock. It's brightly colored for visibility, and you can see this place very open, wide and very open, so whoever is so far but will see this windsock. For example, maybe an aircraft is moving from a given direction, or before approaching this place, automatically by seeing this, it will know that, maybe the pilot will know that there's a weather station somewhere, maybe there's something in front, maybe where the direction he or she's heading to. Then you can see these colors. We have red, white, and they're so bright. This windsock is used to measure the direction of wind as well, and sometimes the speed of wind. So This indication, the way it is slightly, maybe it's tilted, it shows that the wind is not as such strong. But if it could have maybe pointed across, or maybe like horizontal to this line, then that means the wind is strong. So it's used to measure the strength and the Then we have the anemometer. This anemometer is used to measure the speed and the pressure of the wind. So as this cap moves, there is a machine here which records the speed and the pressure of the wind. To set maybe this weather station somewhere, you need to have some of the conditions. Like in this case, we're going to learn about the conditions on where to set a weather station. One, you must place the weather station in an open place where there is no shading can occur. Then place this weather station in an open place where no obstacles can interfere with the recordings. Remember, some of the instruments like the anemometer is used to measure the speed and pressure of the wind. But if you've set a weather station somewhere that there is tall buildings, there are tall trees, that means they're going to be the obstacles that are going to interfere with the recordings. So to make sure that you're going to record the actual what the intention is, or maybe you must put this weather station where there's no any obstacle. Then you need security. This place must be secure because these instruments are so delicate, some of them, and they need no interference. So when you place them, you must be sure that there's enough security. For example, maybe to prevent wild animals from getting into the weather station, or maybe children. Children are eager to know what is this and why is it placed. They're going to make sure that they touch it. So you must place them where there's no such interference. Then the ground should be gentle sloping. This is mostly to avoid stagnation. Like when you place, maybe you set this weather station, you must ensure that the place is gentle sloping. This is too easy for construction and sweep away the water that maybe the rainfall, instead of stagnating, maybe causing floods. Then the area should have a wide view. For example, when we were seeing observing the windsock, we saw that the place is very wide and it's open. So that means by being wide, it gives a wide view. Someone from a distance can see everything from that one direction facing the other direction. Weather forecasting. What's weather forecasting? And which types of weather forecasting do we have? So, weather forecasting is a prediction of weather of a particular place at a given time, approximately for 24 hours. So, we find that to predict a certain weather, you're going to focus on a period, and that must be approximately 24 hours. Then we have two types of, or maybe ways of weather forecasting. We have the modern one and we have the traditional. we're going to see each and everyone. Traditional method. It was done through observation. Each rainbows changes in wind direction, and maybe the moving of animals. So for example, when you see rain, maybe you was expecting that it could rain, but you see the rainbow. That means that was a clear indication that maybe that place is not going to experience any kind of rain, because there's already an interference. Or maybe when you see the wind changing its direction, maybe it was moving from the north and now it's now moving away that direction. That means there's a change in weather. For example, if the wind changes its direction, it will move clouds, and these clouds are going to be formed elsewhere. In that place that are going to be formed, they are going to experience rainfall as compared to the place that they were moved from. Then we have the modern method. This involved the use of modern equipment such as satellite, electronic computers. This method is preferred to be the accurate one. So this use of a satellite, a satellite is a geostationary equipment. It's placed somewhere in space, and it records the change in weather, and it sends the signals to the rooms, maybe the offices, that this weather is going to be recorded. Then we have the electronic computers. For example, a smartphone is an electronic device that can tell you, maybe for some short time, the kind of weather you're going to experience. For example, you can see on your phone this that weather, that app you can tap in. You can see some place is going to experience clouds, some places are going to experience clear skies, or maybe some places are going to experience sun rays. And so these two methods are helping, but now the advancing one, the modern one, it's now so accurate in a way it can predict, or maybe can tell which type of climate we're going to experience in the near future. We have the satellite under modern methods. We found that the satellite is under modern method, and it is used for predicting weather in human-made space. So it's placed in space, and that satellite is human-made. They move around the Earth surface so that they can provide various types of information. When it has got the information, it transmits photographs of weather on daily basis. This satellite, it will help in capturing the information. Then it will transmit photographs indicating the weather on daily basis. Then we're going to statistical forecasting. Is a method that is used, or maybe meteorologists ask themselves how the weather is usually like at the time of the year. They can collect records of temperature and rainfall over the last 5 years. How important the weather forecasting is, or what will we gain when we study this. So weather forecasting, the temperature forecasts are used by utility companies to estimate demand over coming days. So companies producing some varieties are going to use this information from the weather forecasting, so that they can know which commodity is going to have a high demand in coming days, or maybe which commodity is supposed to be put in place so that people can get them when they have that demand. Then and precipitation are important to agriculture, and therefore to traders within commodity and markets. Forecasts based on temperature and precipitation are important to the agriculture sector, and therefore it helps the traders within commodity markets. So this sector, when these people knows that we're going to experience this weather given maybe time, they will know which variety of crops maybe they're going to grow, and maybe which variety of food or crops are that supposed to be supplied at the market. Then accurate forecasting can help to save lives and minimize property damage. And this one, that means that when you get accurate forecasting, for example, you know that a certain place is going to experience floods or maybe heavy rainfall. That is an indication that they will experience floods. These floods will now lead to damage of property, or maybe destruction of maybe loss of lives. But having the know on what is going to happen, the government now can put in place some of the things that will be used to save these lives, or maybe to minimize the property damage. Then it will help in planning sports activities. For example, in athletics, these activities planned when the weather is not extremely hot, because these people need to do the activity when the weather is normal, at least it's cold, not that hot. And there's some other activities that you need to know, maybe the sports like the soccer, the football. For example, the last World Cup that was played in Qatar, it was shifted from December to April and May, so that it can accommodate everyone, because December we experienced that Qatar experiences extreme temperatures as compared to that month of May. So that's why when you know this is going to happen, you can schedule a certain activity. Then it helps in selecting variable clothes. For example, you're traveling somewhere, maybe you're going to the coastal region of Kenya, you automatically know the weather there. You're not going to carry heavy jackets, gumboots maybe, because already there it's very hot as compared to maybe a person moving from the coastal region to the Rift Valley. He or she has to move with the umbrella, heavy jackets, gumboots, because the place experiences cold temperatures, there's rainfall, so you must be in that position to be accommodated. Then now we're going to see, or maybe to highlight the key points that students need to know. One, in this topic, you must know the definition of itself. You must know weather, and you must define it well. Then in this topic, what you need to know, you differentiate between weather and climate. This poses a challenge to many of the students because find that a student can give a definition of weather instead of giving the definition of climate. Or maybe someone is giving a definition of climate instead of giving the definition of weather. Then you're going to know the importance of weather. You must know the importance of weather. Then we have the elements. You must grasp all the elements of weather. You know their definitions. You know their meaning or their usefulness. Then you're going to look at the weather station. Know what's a weather station, define it. Then you must know which kind of elements are used in a weather station. Then you should know, after knowing the elements used in a weather station, you must know their definitions, their use, their conditions, how this may be supposed to be placed. Then you should know the conditions now, the overall conditions to site a weather station. Putting this in place, you must have that conditions that will guide you so that the site is not interfered with. Then you must know, you must now grasp the definition of weather forecasting. You know what's weather forecasting. Then you know the types of weather forecasting, their definitions, how they work, how they're useful. Then you must now know the importance of weather forecasting. This is the last part of the lesson of this topic, the importance of weather forecasting. So I'm very sure that by going through this, you're going to learn more about weather. You're going to have the knowledge about weather. You're going to have more of the knowledge on how the weather station is, maybe how it works. Mostly by looking at that video, you can see that person was explaining the elements that are found in a weather station. Those elements, follow them keenly, each and every one, and later on you can explain, or maybe when you are asked a question, you can clearly explain. I'm now going to ask if there's any question or maybe any comment, what you've learned. Yes. Now, to our next class, I'm going to check your notes and make sure that you prepare the questions you're going to ask and have the objectives written aside so that they can guide you on the place, on the content, the key contents of this topic. Otherwise, thank you and have a nice time.